Hi everyone, so we just started this webinar a little bit early just to check that we had all of our things in order and that we had our audio and our streaming working, but I think we'll get this thing started and then people will join us whenever they can. So, welcome to this student webinar on Brightspace, your new learning management system. So I'm presenting today. My name is Rob and I'm joined by Jay, who will be on the YouTube chat, and we're both part of the LMS implementation team. I should just go over a couple of housekeeping things here. So with the stream, you're going to be hearing us about 30 or 40 seconds delayed. So if you have questions, we welcome your questions via the chat function, and Jay will do his best to answer those, but please be aware that there will be a delay on his responses to your questions. The plan for today is just to give you an introduction to Brightspace. So I'll be taking you on a walkthrough of the system, which will take probably around 30 or 40 minutes, and then after that Jay's going to talk to you about ways in which you can get more involved with this transition to Brightspace. So that's the brief agenda for the day, and it's going to involve a lot of me clicking around within Brightspace to show you a lot of the different tools and features that the system can offer to you as students. So before I do that, I've just got a couple of slides that I want to go over in terms of what supports you have available to you and what training you can take apart from this webinar, just so that you know where to turn after we've done this session today. So what you'll see on screen now is a description of an online training resource, which is the Brightspace Essentials course for students. And that picture on the right hand side of the screen is what you will see in your Brightspace account right now if you've logged in. And if you don't, then you will see it soon. So what is this? Well, Brightspace Essentials is a training shell that has a whole ton of content giving you guides on how to navigate Brightspace and how to do things within Brightspace. So you can access it simply by logging into Brightspace, and whenever you need to refer back to how to submit an assignment or how to complete a quiz or how to contact people in your class, you can do that through the Brightspace Essentials course. Now, we understand that webinars don't work for everybody and training courses don't work for everybody either. So if you're looking for additional support and you want face-to-face support, or you want to send an inquiry to somebody for support on Brightspace, you can either do that via our drop-in service through ITS Client Care in room A143D, or you can send an email to 5555@algonquincollege.com, or you can call their extension 5555 after the college telephone number, which is 613-727-4723. So if you're looking for additional support with Brightspace, that's where you can turn. And today, we'll just be taking you on a walkthrough of the system. So I'm just going to navigate out of these slides for now, and we're going to take a look at the Brightspace homepage. Alright, so this is what your typical Brightspace homepage will look like, and what we can see is the Algonquin College homepage. If you're in Brightspace and you want to get back to this page, all you need to do is click on the Home button in the top left corner. And there's also a link to the Algonquin College website, like the main student website and the main college website. So you can click on the Algonquin logo in order to get to that. And then these other icons over in the right hand side of this top area, these are all contained in what we call the mini bar. So this is the Brightspace mini bar. We have the Belgian waffle symbol over here, and this will actually give me a list of all of the courses that I'm enrolled in. And that will be the same for you. So you might see 1 or 2 courses there, or you might see more than that if you're enrolled in courses that are on Brightspace this semester. You can see a pin symbol next to some of these courses. So what I've actually done for the purposes of today is I've pinned the 2 main courses that I'm going to be using for the demonstration. So I've got my Brightspace Essentials Students course pinned and my Business Law Sandbox pinned. Apart from that, these other courses aren't going to be useful for us today, so I can unpin them. And what you should notice is that the pictures start to rearrange themselves just underneath the menu, because I'm dismissing them from view. I don't need them right now. So that allows me to just organize all of the courses that I want to see on my home page right there at the top, and I can get rid of everything that I don't want to see for now. I can bring those back, of course, because if I click on the Belgian waffle again, I can see the full course list. But all I've done is pin or unpin the courses that I want to have present or get rid of. We've also got the email tool up at the top. So this is the message alerts box, and you can use this in order to email classmates or your instructors. After that, we've got our subscription alerts, and in these subscription alerts you'll see things like responses to your discussions. So if you subscribe to a discussion thread, which I'll show you later on, that's where you can see the responses as they come in. And then we have our update alerts, where you will get notifications about things like new content within your course, or grades that you've received for things that you've done within your courses. And then finally, in the top right corner, we have a bunch of settings and things that you can customize for yourself. So this is where you will access your profile, and in there you can add details about yourself, such as contact details, just for the purposes of making it easier for people to contact you, and any other information that you want to include in there. We've also got a notifications area that we'll just take a look at. So in this notifications area, we can set up an email address and a mobile number through which notifications can be sent. And then if I scroll down a little bit further, there are a range of options that we can request notifications from Brightspace. So we can ask for an SMS to be sent if certain activity happens, or if there is an update to content items, we can ask for an email to be sent. So by default, you can see that all of these boxes are unchecked, but by checking them, you can actually set up the notifications that you want to be sent to your devices or to your email account. We've also got the account settings up here, and these account settings are on the user end. So these are for you as a student to customize some of the things that you are seeing. So for example, you can change font sizes and font settings to make the content that you're engaging with in Brightspace more accessible to you. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the college homepage now by clicking on that home button, and then I'm actually going to change browser windows. Because what you'll notice is that I was browsing under my own account, but now I'm going to use Jay's student account. So just to remind you, Jay is on the chat right now, and don't forget, if you have questions, you can ask him. So I'm in his student account, and I'm going to use this to demo some of the features of a course within Brightspace. So we looked at one place where we can find courses. That's up in the mini bar in the Belgian waffle. We can also click on one of the images on the main homepage here to get into a course. You will also notice that we've got a calendar widget on that homepage, and if I scroll down further, we'll have updates at the college level. We don't have any right now, but you might see some updates appear there. And if I scroll even further, I can see announcements on the whole college level. So this is the introduction to Brightspace that you will see the first time you log in. And then the last piece of the homepage that we need to talk about is this nav bar up here. And this nav bar is something that will change depending on whether you are at the college level or within a course. And we'll talk about the course nav bar very soon. But there's some pretty helpful links to the library and digital resources, and also some help links to the Brightspace community and the college's LMS website. Now, I'm deliberately avoiding clicking on the calendar for now because I want to look at the calendar once we get inside a course. So that's what we'll do. We're going to go into the business law sandbox. And don't worry if you're not enrolled in this. I know that some of you might be choosing to click along. The idea is that I'm just going to show you this course as a walkthrough. So my intention is not that you are doing this as I'm doing it. You can just see what I do and get a feel for what Brightspace can do. So here we go. We're in a course, and you can see that there are some similarities between a course homepage and the homepage of the college. The announcements would be one, so they're appearing on the main homepage. We have a calendar again appearing on that homepage, but there are also some differences. So the nav bar is probably the main difference. So if we look at this nav bar, it's got 7 different links to different areas, and this nav bar has been set up to be consistent across courses within the college. So no matter where you take a course within the college, whether it's through CCOL or different schools, you will always see this same nav bar, which will allow for some more consistent navigation off the platform. This home button here will actually get you onto the home page for the course. So the home button, which was an icon, will take you to the college page, but then the button in the nav bar will actually take you to the home page of an individual course. So if I click on that, it just brings me straight back to the course homepage again. If we take a quick look at the announcements, you can see that the welcome announcement is displayed very prominently, and there's also a link to get to all of the other announcements in the course from this homepage. And then if we take a look at the calendar, we have a list of upcoming events. So this will tell us what things in our course are actually due for submission right away. So what we're actually going to do is go through the navbar in order. So next we'll take a look at the content area. And the content area is where you will find things like your course notes. So it might be written notes, it might be PowerPoints, PDFs, Word documents, interactive modules, Padlets. It's whatever your instructor has set up as your course content. You will find it all within here. And usually when you come in here, you will land in one of two places. You might see an overview for the course, which could just be a description of what the course is all about, or you might land in the table of contents. And the table of contents is just a quick guide to everything that is contained within the content area of the course. It's quite good to use this if you want to do a Control F search of all of your content, because it will list all of the different headings that are found within each of the modules in this content area. So when I say modules, what I'm talking about are these areas in the menu on the left hand side. So everything below table of contents is a module. And there will be some standard modules within your courses that you will always see. So for example, you'll see a Getting Started area in each of your courses. And the purpose of this area is to introduce you a little bit to how to use this platform in the context of the course that you are using. So if I click on one of these content areas, we can see that this is a web page. And when it opens up, I'm going to get an infographic on how to ace business law, which is the sample course that I'm demoing right now. So this is just one example of something that you might find within the Getting Started area of the course. I'll just jump back now to the content area. You may also see a Start Here guide, so that will have some steps for how to get started in the course. And you might also see information that relates to plagiarism, in terms of learning about what plagiarism means and making a declaration in some cases that you understand what it is and how it works. So underneath the Getting Started area, you'll also find something called Course Information. And this again is a standard section that we're recommending across courses in the college. So inside this Course Information area, you will see a Meet Your Instructor page. And I'm going to click on that now so that we can see what that might look like. So you might have some information introducing your instructor, and then an email address and any other contact details that your instructor wants you to have. And maybe even a picture of your instructor just to remind you which course goes with which professor when you're in classes. Now I'm going to, instead of going back to the content area this time, we'll talk a little bit about navigation. So in the top right corner you can see 4 different buttons. This button here is for the purposes of adding a bookmark. So if you navigate to some content that you would like to use, you can click on Add Bookmark, and that will send that content to your bookmarks area so that you can refer back to it very easily. We'll take a look at where those bookmarks are stored very soon. We also have a full screen button, so you can actually view the content in a new window and you don't have to worry about the menus being in the way. You can maximize the size of the content that way. And then these arrow buttons actually allow you to navigate left and right through the content. So you don't have to keep going back to the main content menu to go through it. You can actually use these arrows to go through. So if I click on the next arrow, it will take me to the next thing in Course Information, which is a course outline. And that will go through obviously the learning requirements of your course. So that should be posted there. You might also see course section information, which will talk about how you will be evaluated in courses. And if I click on it again, you might also have a full course calendar, which breaks down week by week what's going to be happening within the course. So I'll go back to the table of contents now, and I said that I would show you the bookmarks area. So we can see that a number 1 has appeared next to the bookmarks link. And if I click on that, that's because I've sent the Meet Your Instructor content to bookmarks. So that's a really easy way for you to just refer back to any content that you want to find easily again. And then last but not least, underneath Course Information, we have weekly modules. And in these weekly modules, it really depends on what your instructor has chosen to share with you on a week-by-week basis. But this is where you will find things like the notes for the course, PowerPoints, any videos that are important, and you may also find links to the weekly activities, such as discussions or assignments. It really depends on how everything is set up, but I'm going to show you some other ways that you can find those activities later on. So now that we've seen the content area of a course, this is a good opportunity for us just to take a quick look at the Brightspace Essentials course, which is your training guide that you can refer back to. So all I've done here is gone back to the course homepage, except that I'm back in my own account again. And I'll click on Brightspace Essentials. And after that, I'm going to click on the content area of that course. And what we can see here is that down the left-hand side, instead of weekly modules, we've got guides to how to do things. So you've got guides to how to read your content, how to navigate through the platform, which is basically the two things that we've just covered. And coming up, we've got all of the instructions for submitting assignments, looking at grades, completing quizzes, and so on. It's actually students who have built this course, and they've done a fantastic job so far. So please make sure that you check out this resource when you get a chance. Okay, so we're going to go back now to the student account that I was in. I'll take you back to the course homepage. So this was the business law homepage. And we've covered content. So we're going to move on now to take a quick look at calendar. So when I click on calendar, what we can see first of all is that it allows us to look at the calendar within Brightspace over a variety of views. So we can view this as a list of all events that are in the calendar. And if I scroll down, you can see all of the events that are due dates. And this colored dot next to them just means that they are all relating to the same course. So if I just take your attention up to the middle of the screen, you can see that what I'm displaying right now is all of the calendars. But when I look at the breakdown, I can actually just select one calendar to filter so that I'm only looking at the business law calendar. And when I do that, that will just show me the items that are relevant to that particular course. And you can do that for multiple calendars at once, or one at a time, or everything together. It's really up to you which ones you want to look at one time. Notice that there's also a filter, so you can filter this by assignments if you're trying to work out what date a specific assignment was due. And then we don't have to view it as a list. We can also look at this on a day, week, or month breakdown. So if I take a look at the month of May, I can see that there's 4 different deadlines that I'm going to have to meet, usually on Fridays in this sample course. So it's really easy to manipulate those views to see what you need to see within the calendar. Also, within the settings, you can actually take this calendar and integrate it into your Office 365 calendar. So inside these settings, underneath calendar feeds, I'm just going to click to enable that feed. And when I hit save, what you may have noticed there, if you were watching carefully, is that a subscribe button has appeared next to the settings button. And when I click on that subscribe button, it's a simple case of me just taking the URL that it's given to me, and then I can take that to my other calendars and input this calendar into those calendars. So that means that you'll be able to see maybe your personal calendar or maybe a work calendar, but also your Brightspace calendar can be integrated into that. So that's really, really easy to do. Okay, so that was the calendar tool, and we're still working our way from left to right across the nav bar. And the next item on the nav bar is actually a collection of activities. So if I click on that, it's going to drop down a menu, and it shows you all of the different types of things that you could be doing in Brightspace as a student. So the very first one in the list is assignments. And we'll take a look at how to submit an assignment, and also how to view things like grades and feedback on an assignment once we've done it. So when I click on assignments, I'm going to see all of the submission folders. And that's because for each of these assignments, there will be a folder where I need to submit it. Now these might not necessarily be things that you are doing entirely through Brightspace. It might be something that you start off in class and then come to Brightspace to submit. So that's why we're talking about these folders. And if we look at the list, what we'll actually see is a list of items, and each of these items is a heading that will take you into the submission folder. So all I did there was click on the title of the submission folder, and now we can see the instructions for the assignment. So in some cases, the assignment instructions will be attached, just like in this case. So there's a document down at the bottom of the screen. So you can review those instructions. There might also be a rubric attached, or the instructions might just be written in this box instead of having them as an attachment. We've also got a due date here, which tells us exactly when we need to submit the assignment. And then if I scroll further down, there is a whole area for us to submit files. So the simplest way to do this is if you're going to submit a Word document or a PDF, you can just click on Add a File. And then this will pop up with this box, which is just like attaching something to an email. So you can click on My Computer, and you can even just drag and drop files into the box, or if you don't have them handy, you can actually navigate to them by clicking on Upload. And it will allow you just to click around your folders until you find the assignment that you're trying to submit. And then just by double clicking on that and pressing Add, I've submitted my file, or I've uploaded my file, I should say. You might want to add some comments. It really depends here. You might have something to share with your instructor about what you've included. Maybe you made a decision that was slightly different to what you were going to do your assignment on. Maybe you're apologizing for it being slightly late. Whatever it is, you can type your comments into that box and then hit Submit at the bottom of the screen. And we can see that the file submission has been successful. In some cases you will get an email notification that that has been successful, but you can always come back here and check that your files have been submitted. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to click on Activities and Assignments again. And what we can see now is that there have been 3 submissions here. That's because I've done this several times. I've actually uploaded multiple files for this assignment. If I click on that number 3, I can actually see all of the things that I have submitted, and that assignment 1 at the bottom of the list, that's exactly what I just submitted, and I even get a time and a date stamp, so that there's no ambiguity about when I submitted this. So after you've submitted it, obviously your instructor will take some time to grade this and provide you with feedback, but when you want to come and see your feedback, you can also do that here in this same screen. So again, Activities Assignments is where I am. And I can see my score straight away for this, and it seems like my first submission here I didn't do very well. So I'm going to want to find out why is that. So let's have a look at the feedback for the assignment. So I clicked on View under Feedback, and if I scroll to the bottom I can actually read the feedback that I have been given. And I'm being told that this is actually a late assignment and didn't follow the instructions. So I can clearly see the grade, when the feedback was given, and what the feedback was as well. So I'll just click on Done, and that will take me back to the assignment submission page. There's also another assignment that I prepared earlier for the purposes of this. You can see that on this second assignment I got 24 out of 25, so a much better attempt there. And I can see the feedback in a number of ways. So I'm going to click on View Feedback first of all. And if I scroll to the bottom, once again I can see that there is some feedback included for me with the grade and the date on which it was included. But if I scroll up again, there are some other additional items that might be viewable depending on how your instructor is using assignments. So your instructor might choose to pair the assignment with Turnitin. And Turnitin is a third-party app that is integrated into Brightspace, and it does 2 things. It checks your assignment for similarity to sources that are on the internet. So this is actually a plagiarism checker. You may have used SafeAssign in the past, and this is a similar idea. So this will allow you to have a look at how similar your work is to other work that's out there, and you may need to make changes as a result. So what you can probably see here is that I've somehow managed to fool the instructor with my submission because I got 24 out of 25, but Turnitin is telling me that this is actually 100% similar to something that already exists. So clearly I need to go back and actually revise my submission and make sure that I'm quoting where I need to quote and I'm writing original work where I need to write it. That's not the bit I want to focus on though. The other part is that your instructor might have used Turnitin's grade mark, which is a feedback studio, which allows them to give you slightly more detailed feedback on your work. So I'll click on Turnitin grade mark, and this will take us into the third-party platform. So what we can see now is a couple of things. We can actually see a big red area, which is telling me which parts of this are plagiarized, and I think you can probably see why they're plagiarized. I can just dismiss those red marks for now by clicking on this similarity layer over on the right hand side, because the bit that I want to show you is the blue bit, the bit where we have comments from the instructor. So if I click on a comment bubble, I can actually see specific feedback to parts of my assignment. And this is why this can be really useful both to your instructors and to you. And then I can also use the download button to download my current view. So that will download the assignment with all of the marked up feedback that I've been given. So that's just something to be aware of if your instructor is using Turnitin. So I think that's everything that I want to say about assignments. So we can go back to activities now and look at the next thing in there, which is discussions. So you may be used to Blackboard discussions, maybe Canvas discussions as well. I need to introduce you to the hierarchy that exists within the Brightspace discussions area, because there are 3 levels to this. The first level is a discussion forum. So whenever you can see a large black header like this one, like student introductions, or if I scroll down, content discussions, these are forum titles. And a forum is just an area where discussions are organized. And then within those forums, we have discussion topics. And this is where the discussions are actually happening. So if I click on the student introductions topic, I can scroll down and see the 3rd level. The 3rd level are threads. So each of these student posts is a discussion thread. And this is where most of the discussion will take place. And this is where you can also reply to discussions as well. So I'll take you through how to start a discussion thread. It's pretty obvious because there is a big blue button, Start a New Thread. So if I click on that, I need to give my thread some sort of title or heading. So I'm going to call this Hello Again, because you'll probably notice that this is the 3rd thread by J, or me as J, I should say. So Hello Again. I can type some text into here, so I've just typed the word text just as an example. But this tool, which is a rich text editor, gives us a lot more options for what we can include in our posts. So if we want to include a video within the post, we can click on the button in the top left here, which is Insert Stuff. And this Insert Stuff button actually allows us to insert a wide range of stuff. So we can include images from Flickr. We can include links to external resources. We can include a YouTube video, or you can even record a video of yourself and submit that as a discussion. Or you can enter embed codes to share a whole range of media, probably more than I can even think of or name right now. Other than that, we can also include images, and you can take images from a website or from your own computer. And you can even make links back to other things within the course if you want to. There's also customization settings, in terms of the type of text that you're using. You can make it bold, underline things, all of the standard tools that you would expect to see in one of these rich text editors. There's also a spell check button down at the bottom right corner. You'll get a box whenever you start a thread which says subscribe to this thread. And this will automatically be checked for any thread that you create. You can uncheck it. But the purpose behind this is that if you create your own thread, and you check that box, you will be notified by Brightspace every time somebody replies to your thread. So you'll actually know that there's an ongoing conversation happening, and you won't have to just check back all of the time. So it's a really good idea to keep that box checked so that you know when people are replying to you. So I think I'm ready to submit, so I'm going to hit post. And now we can see that my new thread is there in all of its glory. Now, I study using Brightspace as well as doing presentations like this, and there have been times when I've looked at it, and as soon as I've hit post, I've seen a mistake, or I've seen something that I'm not happy with. Well, not to worry too much, because I can actually click on this, and I can edit my thread, or I can delete my thread and then start this again. So you have a little bit more control over what's going on in your discussions as well. And then if I scroll to the very top of the topic, you can also subscribe to a thread. So that means that not only will you get notifications about responses to your posts, but you will get notifications about new threads and posts within any of the threads within this topic. So again, very, very useful if you don't want to constantly have to be checking back to all of this. Okay, I'm going to go back now to the discussions top level so that we can look at the forums, and I'll scroll down to the content discussion forum. And within this content discussion forum, we have numerous discussion threads. Numerous discussion topics. I've broken my own rule now by messing up the hierarchy. And within each of these, we'll have more discussions, and some of these discussions might turn out to be graded activities. So if you have a graded discussion activity, you'll need to check for your grades and feedback in the grades area of the course. So I'll quickly show you what that looks like now, and then we'll spend a little bit more time in 5 or so minutes looking at the grades area in more detail. So that's found under progress and then grades. So if I scroll down here, I can navigate to a discussion activity, such as this one, discussion 1, legal problem example, and I can see that I've been awarded 5 out of 5 on that discussion, and I can see my feedback right there in the grades area. So as I said, I'll explain this grades page a little bit more in detail later, but that's how you find grades for any discussion activity that you've taken part in that is worth grades. So sticking with activities, we've got one more activity to look at from this list. I won't go through groups for today because not all courses will use groups, and if they do, I'm hoping that your instructors will be able to work with you to tell you what's going to be expected in there. But you can also keep checking back on the Brightspace resources that are available, even in the community, if you have to use groups. There's lots of advice out there. So let's click on quizzes, because the quizzes, or tests, will be the main things that you use outside of assignments and discussions. So you'll notice that I said quizzes and or tests. Brightspace calls these quizzes. Your instructor might call them a test, but they will be built as a quiz within Brightspace. So the terminology shouldn't matter too much. You'll find all of these types of activities within this quiz area. And what we're seeing is the quiz list. So underneath current quizzes, we've got all of the available quizzes that should be submitted. You can see that one is due on May 29th, the others are just practice quizzes, but they'll all work in similar ways. So I'm going to click on Practice Quiz 7, or Practice Quiz Week 7. And what I see here are the details for the quiz. I can see how much time I have in order to complete this quiz. It's a 2-hour quiz. I can see how many attempts I have, so I'm allowed 1 attempt and I haven't done any yet. And then there's some general instructions about what to do to complete your quiz. So it tells you to be saving your responses as you go, just in case the internet goes out in your area or something like that. And you need to click on Start Quiz in order to begin. So I'll click on that and we will be in a live practice quiz. You can see the time is ticking down already. My 2 hours have begun. So I'm not going to go through every single type of question that you might see, but what I want to show you really is that the user interface is pretty straightforward. You'll have a question, it will tell you how many points it's out of. You will have a number of options depending on what type of question it is, and you click on one in order to select it, and then when I get to the bottom of the question there is an option to save. So it's a good practice just to save as you go along, but if you're confident in your internet, maybe you think you can just save them all at the bottom if you're going through this very, very quickly. But if you're taking a minute or 2 per question, it really doesn't hurt to just hit save as you go along. So because I'm seeing these questions marked as mandatory, I'm going to just select an answer for each one as I go through, just so that we can actually submit the quiz and you can see what this looks like. I'm breaking my rules. I haven't been hitting save as I go, but there we go. So if you just bear with me, I'm actually going to click on them all right now and then we'll just save all at the bottom for the purposes of this demonstration. Then I'm not wasting too much time. Hopefully there aren't too many business law experts out there watching this. If you are, you're probably seeing that I'm failing this test in a big way, but that's fine. Okay, last question, question 12. So you can see that blue button there is Save All Responses, and then I'm going to click Go to Submit Quiz. But luckily that's not the end. So if I go to submit the quiz, it doesn't mean that I have submitted it. I get asked to confirm. And if you haven't completed a mandatory question here, it will tell you. So it will say you need to go back and attempt this. If you haven't attempted questions but they're not mandatory, it will still warn you. It will still say you haven't attempted this question, this question, this question. Do you still want to submit? And you will have to confirm that that is what you want to do. So that's what I'll do now. I've clicked Submit Quiz, and my quiz is done. And wow, I don't think I could have done that again if I was trying. I managed to get 0 out of 12 on that quiz, so that is a spectacular fail. Okay, so I can see my attempt there. Your instructor might come back and give you feedback on your attempts later. So if I go back to the quiz list by clicking on Activities and then Quizzes, I'll take a look at this one down at the very bottom of the list, which was actually it was actually for marks. So if I click on Submissions, what I can see here is the grade that I got on that graded activity, and if there were any feedback comments from my instructor, it would appear down at the bottom there. So very similar to the way that you would see feedback for an assignment. Okay, so that's everything for activities, and we're getting close to the end of this demo. We're going to be taking a look at the progress area next. And the main thing for you under progress is the grades page. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about how that is set up. You'll find awards here, so if your instructor has decided to include things like badges or certifications, you'll find them in this area. And we will come back to class progress just after looking at grades. They're arranged alphabetically if you're wondering why we're doing it in this order. So here we go. Let's click on grades and have a look at what you will see from a student grade view. So I think my first, not warning exactly, but my first words of caution would be, don't worry too much about this thing up at the top, final calculated grade. This calculation up at the top of the page is showing you your grade as it's calculated based on what you have completed so far in the course. So it's showing you your weight achieved. And once the course is completed, you will have a weight achieved that is out of 100, because all of the things in your course together will be weighted 100% of the total course. So let's actually look at the table underneath and see what that means. So a good example would be this in-class quiz 1. Quiz 1 is out of 30 points, but that doesn't mean it's worth 30% of the course. The weight of this quiz is actually only 5% of the whole course. So when you get a grade for this, you'll see a grade out of 30, but then that grade will be calculated out of 5 to show you the weight that it's worth for the overall course. And if you have feedback, it will appear on the right-hand column. So for quiz 2, you can actually see this happening. The grade here was 2.63 out of 7.5, and it's been changed into a grade out of 5 because that's the actual weighting for the course. Now if we go through the weight achieved column, you'll see that we've got something that was out of 5 here. We have another one out of 5 there, so that makes 10. And if I keep scrolling, we have something out of 10 here, so 10 and 10 is 20, and then something out of 5, which gives us an overall weight possible so far of 25%. And you can see that the grade in the top left corner, it actually shows a grade out of 25, so it's only including things that have been graded right now. So your instructors will be grading things when they are due, and if you haven't submitted something, you shouldn't be surprised to see a 0 grade be entered for that assignment until you've actually gone back and submitted it, because that will show you exactly where your grade stands at the time when you check. So this will pair up pretty nicely with the progress area, because in order to allow you to understand what this grade means in the context of the course, class progress will allow you to look at what this means in terms of your minimum possible mark and your maximum possible mark. And those of you who are good at math have probably done this in your head already, but let's take a look at the class progress area. So right at the top of the screen, I can see that grade that I was looking at previously. So 14.05 out of 25. That's where I stand right now in the course. So what this means to me is that if I get 100% on everything else that remains, I do everything perfectly for the rest of the course, I still have a maximum final grade of 89.05. But my minimum grade is 14.05 out of 100. What that means is that I've either just not done anything else, or I've done everything else so poorly that I didn't score any more marks. So hopefully that helps you to understand what's going on in that grades page. And again, the default settings that I showed you there are the settings that will be set up by default in each of your courses. So we're hoping again that there will be some consistency across the grades pages from course to course to course. And that gives you an idea of how to understand it. But this class progress area is so much more than that. It's not just about grades. This actually looks at your progress through everything in Brightspace. So on the left-hand side of this page, we have tabs for almost everything that we've talked about today, plus some more things. So there's a tab for content, and if I click on that, this is telling me how many visits I've made to the content area overall, how much time I've spent in those content areas, and how many of the topics I've visited, giving me an overall percentage of 41% for topics that I've visited. And I can get breakdowns on this. I can go even further and see exactly how long I've been spending on each of the different content areas. And this data is visible on both ends as well. It's visible to you and your instructor as well. So be mindful of that. your instructor might be able to help you based on what you are doing here. They'll be able to see how you're doing on certain assignments and give you advice, and you can also use this to moderate your own activity within your course as well. I find it, as a student, I find it really, really motivating to be able to see how much time I'm spending on things and how much I'm clicking around. And especially in the content area, with the number of areas that I've visited, I really always aim to click on every single area of content and try and spend some time there. So it's a good way to keep track of what you've done and what you still have left to do. So that's everything that I'll talk about in progress. We'll just look at 3 items in tools, and then we can talk more about how you can get involved with this transition to Brightspace, so that by the time the fall comes around and everybody is on Brightspace, we'll have a good starting point for people to get support. So let's take a look at tools. The first thing you'll find under tools is all of the announcements within the course. And that might be announcements that are on the home page or announcements that have been dismissed from the home page. So you'll remember that this welcome announcement was pretty much the first thing that we saw in the course, but all of the other announcements that are posted at any time within the course will be appearing in this area so that you can refer back to them. Also under tools is the class list. So if I click on Tools and Class List, what I will see is a list of all of the people in the course at that time. And I can choose to email these people as well. So if I just check the box next to my own name there and click on Email, it will put the email address, and this is a fake email address, so please don't email this one because you won't get a reply. It will put that email address in there, and then you can just use the rich text editor to send the email to the person that you're trying to contact. And then finally under tools we have the virtual classroom, and I won't go through this in much detail, but this is an area where you can see whether there are live virtual meetings within your course. So your instructor might set up a live virtual meeting for a discussion to happen outside of class time. Maybe it will be for one-to-one problem solving outside of class time. Maybe even a guest speaker will join the class, but they will join remotely and they can do it through here. There's a number of options that your instructors might use this for, and there's lots of resources online as to how to use this, as well as a guide in the Brightspace Essentials course. So you'll be able to have a look at that in the event that you have to use the virtual classroom. So if I take us back to the course homepage, that is your walkthrough. That is everything that we think that you should know going into this new adventure in Brightspace. Don't forget, you can always refer back to your Brightspace Essentials course for any guides to the things that I've talked through today. This video will live on YouTube as well, so you know it's not just a live stream that's going out right now, so there will be that to refer back to as well. And don't forget about those supports that we also talked about. So don't go anywhere. I'm not closing this down entirely. I'm just ending my segment of this presentation, and I'm actually going to hand over to Jay now, who will talk a little bit more about how you can get involved in this. There will be maybe 15 or 20 seconds where we go silent. That's just because I'm handing over this microphone, which is currently strapped to my head. So thanks for your patience with that.
Good afternoon. Just going to walk you through a little bit of an overview of our Brightspace Ambassadors program, which will be also one of the supports that we have available for learners as we transition to our new learning management system this fall. The Brightspace Ambassador program is going to be a volunteer-driven, peer-to-peer student training program. We are going to be training students to teach other students how to use the learning management system. What it's going to look like is there'll be learning booths available across campus during the first 3 weeks of the fall and winter semester, and at these booths there'll be students who have gone through our ambassador development program this summer, and they will be prepared to deliver peer-to-peer support. So what are the opportunities as a Brightspace ambassador? We're going to look at a few different real opportunities for learners in order to take advantage of this Brightspace Ambassadors program. The first is if you decide to join the Brightspace Ambassadors, you're going to get an opportunity to connect with other students from a variety of different programs. We currently have 4 students as part of the team right now, and they're from diverse programs like business administration, interactive multimedia design, as well as computer programming. There's going to be a large opportunity for you to connect with your peers from across the college, expanding your network. Also, you're going to develop skills and leadership with peer-to-peer learning programs. You're going to develop the understanding of how to support other learners, and really you're going to be identified as a leader within the college community. And the last key opportunity that we want to highlight is that we are moving towards a new learning management system, and this does affect the entire college. And being one of the forward-facing students and one of the early adopters of Brightspace, you're going to have an opportunity to have a real strong positive impact on our community. So when we look at some of the qualities that we are hoping students can come into the program with, or these are the qualities that you're going to develop as a Brightspace ambassador by going through our training program, some of the key things that we're looking for is that you're dedicated towards learning, not just the learning of yourself, but the learning of also your peers. You may have been a student who have helped another student in the class with technology at some point. We are expecting that students who come to the Brightspace Ambassador program, they are comfortable with technology, as well as when we look at what you're going to be doing. I mean, during that hour or two that you might be at a table, you're going to be responding to a lot of questions. We know that students are going to stop at these tables. We've asked them through a survey, and we had almost 80% of our respondents state that they would stop and ask a question. So one of the qualities is we're looking for students to be able to patiently respond to the questions, and also looking for persistent opportunities to solve problems. A lot of the times you might have a student who will come to the table and not necessarily understand what they're looking for, or you might not know how to answer their questions, and we're expecting you to be a persistent problem solver. Some of the opportunities that you'll have in terms of a reward or incentive is that you will be able to receive a co-curricular credit submission, so that at the time that you graduate, when you receive your co-curricular record, there will be the Brightspace Ambassador recognition on there that you can use to demonstrate to employers, or also if you're trying to get into other university or college programs, sometimes the volunteer experience is absolutely necessary to receive acceptance into these programs. Also, another incentive, we're going to be giving you early access to Brightspace. You will be one of the first students on the platform before this fall, and receiving early access, you become an early adopter of Brightspace, and you can understand the system well before you actually get into classes and start completing assignments and earning credit towards the completion of your courses. So what are our next steps with the Brightspace Ambassador program? It is, of course, the development of our Brightspace Ambassadors. We are going to be inviting volunteers to join us this summer for a full day of training. You'll be joining other groups of students around campus, and we will be also awarding a certificate when you complete this development program. Right now we have videos playing on the campus screen, and they give some details on how you can access our Brightspace Ambassadors program, and we're asking for students to join the team by sending us a quick email. When you send us an email at brightspace@algonquincollege.com, we will respond by letting you know how you can join our development program, as well as become an early adopter to this program. We're very excited about this program, and we look forward to connecting with students and leading change as we move towards a new learning management system at Algonquin College. If you have any questions or you're interested to know more, please send us an email. And thank you very much to everyone who took time out of their day to join us for our Introduction to Brightspace Student Experience webinar.